It kind of chose me. One of the things that I learned growing up in West Oakland, which I'm very proud of actually, it's become a little different place now than when I grew up, but at the time West Oakland, Oakland itself had a very rich and strong history of having not only ethnic diversity, but a lot of strong black leadership in the area. So I was there for Oakland's first black mayor and for a lot of the other interesting and noteworthy achievements of African American people in the area. There was a guy named Charlie Tuna that swam the English Channel. He trained right there in Oakland at Laney College swimming pool. But I digress. What brought me to arts education was one, finding out that I had these special abilities, and one of the, I almost said true things, but one of the strongest, most basic things that any educator owes any student is to have you find your passion and find things that move you. It may not necessarily make the most money, but you'll have a life that's rich and meaningful, which is how I fell into the arts education. My mother on the block was, we had the house. And so some of you know about neighborhoods where there is a house. There's one house where all the kids go. They go in and out and they flock in, flock out. And if they need food, the mama there give them food, or if they need just, so that was our house. We were the house. And so my mom was a very strong woman. She had raised 6 children, strong woman, and she was also very loving, stern but loving at the same time. So that's kind of how I got my technique for working with young people. And the arts come into play because my dad was a Baptist preacher. And so every Sunday, like it or not, we had to get up and go to church. And at church, one of the things I enjoyed most was the singing. We couldn't dance in church, that was a sin, but you could sing and clap. And so I found out I was pretty good at rhythm. And so with rhythm, rhythm is a thing for us, for my African people and for people in the neighborhood and whatnot. Rhythm is one of the things that, without a lot of money, that's one of the things we find ourselves with. And so we manipulate the rhythm. Some of you may be familiar with a lot of the popular art forms used today, a lot of the rapping with the rhythmic variations that are used. A lot of that came out of our existence. For some of you, you may know that ethnic people in education, this educational system in the States was not designed for us. The educational system was designed for middle-class white people. And so as Dr. King and others went ahead and challenged the system and won rights for ethnic people to go to school, then one of the ways that we found to reinforce those teachings was through rhythm and through repetition. And so the repetitious rhythm of what we're calling rap music now is one of the staples of ethnic communities across the country, actually around the world. When people are without resources, then we turn within to find ways to get through this system. And so one of those things that helped us is movement and rhythm and variation and playing with that. Even if it's just, anyone here ever seen a group of young people just in the park? It used to be quite frequent where they would just be 5 or 6 and we'd just be in a circle dancing or singing or just doing something to move and help us get through that existence. Well, somehow it came to me to use that approach in an educational setting. So to bring this all back around to your question, that's how I wound up being an arts educator. Through rhythm and movement and motion, I found that I could reach a lot of young people. And so I use that as a hook to engage you. Some of you might know. It's worked on a few of you. And so now we are able to have a conversation about you, your life connections, and how best I can help move you forward as an educator. It's interesting. It kind of, no reduction. Especially lately, the last 4 years specifically, there's been a crazy increase. I start out saying it kind of goes in ebbs and flows, where it doesn't seem so bad, and then all of a sudden there's flare-ups and it seems intense. Interestingly enough, your generation is in a rather intense period. And so, yeah, to call attention to self-awareness is one of my biggest tools that I use to combat racism. Because all it is ignorance. All it is separation. All it is not knowing about your neighbor. So one of the things that we can do is to, one, feel good about and be strong in who we are, what our background and our family life is, and to know that someone across the street, they have family history as well. They like to eat, sleep, hang out with their folks just like we do. So the more we can do to interact with each other, I think is going to be a big tool to help reduce that. But again, it's going to be difficult because of the whole, if the economic disparity has anything to do with the racism that's involved, then we're in big trouble, because the way, again, the economic system is set up, there is a group on top, there is a group on bottom, and that's just how it's been. So if that has anything to do with the problems that we're having, we have to figure out what to do about that. Those with, those without, those with think they're better than those without, but without taking into account the consideration of it started out like that, or this system started out like that. So that's why I challenged you earlier to come up with a better system, a better way of being. Something that's not based on how much money you have to define how well you do in society. I believe lots of things should be free even. It should be free to have a place to stay. It should be free to be able to get where you need to get to. Like, why does that cost so much? That doesn't make sense to me.
My name is Amanda Morris.
My name is Juan Vasquez.
Hi, my name is Amy Villalobos.
My name is Naomi Frutuoso.